Abbey Dental, sponsors of Late Lunch for all aspects of today's dental care. Highly recommended throughout the Isle of Man.
Hello and welcome to the Late Lunch Leftovers, where we take a chance to look back at some of the highlights from the programme over this past week.
And actually, it was a bank holiday week, which is always good, but it does mean shorter time for us. We still pat a huge amount in, though. We had daily updates from the Guild with the lovely Judith Ley. Mike Cooley dropped in to tell us all about midweek mindfulness, and we recorded another session with him. Marc chose a wonderful greatest hit for us. And on Friday, it was the first ever Isle of Man Environment Festival, masterminded by Beachbuddy's very own Bill Dale. And what is your overall aim with this? What do you want the people who come down to see what's on offer here to leave with?
You know what, I think there's a couple of aims really. The very first intention, based on how successful the little event we had at Nearble, was to show that people can actually do things together rather than just doing them on their own, because it's not cheap renting. Look at the size of this thing, and this is an expensive exercise. And thank goodness Max Telecom are sponsoring this, because these marquees aren't cheap to get a hold of. But I mean, first of all, get everybody together under one roof rather than operating on our own. Also, for us to share information between each other. So, there's everybody really got the same sort of common causes about the environment and wildlife and nature. And the other thing is, this is a great chance for people to just come here and see all of these things together. So the members of the public are able to just wander around and speak to as many people as they want to. And there's a few little gifts and great activities for kids.
And so, as I say, a great activity for the weekend for people to pop down here tomorrow. Can you introduce us to somebody now then? I know we're going to be speaking to people throughout the afternoon, but who should we speak to first? Let's nominate your first person.
To see Isle of Man Biosphere here, and they're dealing with plastic pollution, the topic these days. So.
And it's actually quite apt, isn't it, that we are in Peel and you've got the sea right beside us, because I was wandering down the beach the other day and the amount of plastic you find on our beaches, and so it's a perfect environment.
And these guys have been really, we teamed up with them. In fact, the Beach Buddies logo is on their posters. So, but we work closely with Biosphere for obvious reasons, and DEFA, and this young lady here is going to give you a little bit more information.
Would you just like to introduce yourself for us?
I'm Sophie Costain. I work for DEFA. I'm an ecosystem policy officer.
And what's your main role within that?
I deal with wildlife, actually. Not really so much to do with plastics or biosphere. I deal with wildlife and conservation and areas of special scientific interest.
But then, having said that, I suppose when it comes to wildlife are affected by this as well, aren't they? You see so many really disturbing images of wildlife are affected by plastics.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a really big issue for wildlife, and it impacts upon so many aspects of all our lives and wildlife, and it's such a big issue.
So people popping into the marquee to come and see you, what have you got on offer here?
We've got a variety of kind of games, informative games for children, such as how long will it take to degrade, not biodegrade. So obviously there's difference. There's bin or beach, so looking in the kind of this pit and deciding which things on the beach you should put in the bin or which you should keep. We've got some information about Biosphere, how you can sign up to be a Biosphere partner, and other things going on with Biosphere. We've also got some information about plastic nurdles and just various plastic information about understanding plastic packaging, a variety of things.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
But I have got a handsome young man here on our broadcasting settee, and he's Isaac Kreisky. Hello, Isaac.
Hello.
Now, Isaac has the distinction of being the first person to qualify for a place in the Sheffield Plate final. Now, of course, the Sheffield Plate is the highest honour that the Guild awards to our best young singer, and it's made up of the young people who've won their individual voice classes. And Isaac was singing a few days ago, and your song, Isaac, was?
It was Let's Go Fly a Kite.
And you sang it very well indeed, so well. I put it onto one of my radio programmes. Are you looking forward to the final on Friday, Isaac?
Yes, I am.
And this puts you on the stage of the Royal Hall, doesn't it? You were downstairs in the promenade suite. So that'll be good, won't it?
Yes.
Now, I'm really glad that you've been able to come up and talk to us for a few moments, because you're a busy young man this afternoon. You're in a poetry class, aren't you, at this very moment? Really, should be, shouldn't you?
Yes, I should.
But fortunately, there's quite a lot of other people in it, and you're quite the way down the list, so we can have this little chat. I was hoping, actually, that you might do your poem for us, please, Isaac. A little bit of a sneak preview. Could we have that, please?
Yes, you could.
Right, off you go. This is Isaac Christy.
Marmalade by Peter Dixon. He's buried in the bushes with dock leaves round his grave. A crime cat, desperado, and his name was Marmalade. He's the cat that caught the pigeon, that stole the neighbour's meat, that tore the velvet curtains and stained the satin seat. He's the cat that spoilt the laundry. He's the cat that spilt the stew, that chased the lady's poodle and scratched her daughter too. But no more we'll hear his cat flap, or scratches at the door, or see him at the window, or hear his catnap snore. So, ring his grave with pebbles, erect a noble sign, for here lies Marmalade, and Marmalade was mine.
Isaac, if I had 2 free hands and not holding all bits and pieces, I would give you a big, big round of applause for that. That was so good.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Turning to Mike Cooley, who is in the studio with us, probably wondering what the heck's going on today. Happy 1st of May. Happy Lair Bolden, Mike.
Yep, to you too. I won't try to pronounce that.
We have just before we came on air, we recorded this week's Mindful Practice, which will be going up as a podcast as usual after the show, and so you'll be able to subscribe to that, and also there'll be the video of that as well. Just give people a little idea of what it was that we were focusing on in today's practice.
Well, it's another body-based practice, so, we don't spend a lot of time purposely in the body. We notice it when it hurts. We notice it when it feels really, really good. And the rest of the time, it's just not really on the radar. So this was just a short practice to stop and kind of drop down into the body and purposefully look for what feels good. Mm-hmm. And there's often a lot more than we think when we really start looking.
And it follows on really nicely from what we were talking about last week as well. And I'll come to the conversation we had about you saying if you have pain and you sort of focus in on the pain and how you can almost breathe through it and almost make it dissipate in certain circumstances. And it makes me think of a guest we had on earlier this week. I don't know if you were able to hear him, but we had a chap pop in on Monday along with Sean Bostrom by the name of Steve Quayle, I think it was, wasn't it? And he had taken part in the marathon, the London Marathon on Sunday, and he got to mile 8. Broke his foot, sprained his hip,
and partially tore his calf.
Yeah. But finished the marathon in under 4 hours. And the only thing you can say about that, surely it must be mind over matter.
Yeah. That's it. It's the mental determination overrides everything. I mean, it probably hurt at the end, but it's determination. Yeah, and the people I meet who do the best with mindfulness, they often do have a kind of determination.
Yeah.
Determination is a superpower in itself, yeah.
Also, is it about having a goal, Mike? For example, the marathon, he knew he needed to do 26 miles to finish. Is it about setting something in your head, a goal, be it running a marathon or something way more relaxing? Does that help as well?
That's a good question. I think in terms of a marathon, I mean, that would help because, it's a marathon, it's a goal. Generally, with mindfulness, we take any idea of a goal away so that we're not kind of putting pressure on ourselves. We're not trying to get somewhere. I often meet people that say, I couldn't calm my mind down. I can't do it. Well, I don't put that in as a goal in the first place. I mean, that either does or doesn't happen. So my approach, anyway, is more about taking goals away. And certainly when I run, because I go running now and again, I just keep running, and there's no kind of set thing in my head, and I find that kind of helps rather than put a goal or a limit on myself. So I guess it works for some things, and other times it can work to take all the goals and structure away.
Because I guess at the end of the day, what you don't want to do by the end of it is feel like you've somehow let yourself down or failed.
Yeah, and that's what happens when we're very good at setting little traps for ourselves, and that's one of them. I failed because it didn't happen right. We didn't do what I wanted it to do. My mind didn't calm down. My body didn't feel good. I didn't finish the marathon. Blah blah blah. If you just take all that away, and it's more like, well, whatever the moment presents itself with, we're just going to be with that, then it's like, oh, well, okay then. That's it, full stop.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Jeez.
What a great laugh.
I know.
It's Tuesday. It's greatest hit day. I can't do this by myself. I need support. Hello, Marc Tiley.
Hello, and I'm so excited to be back again.
Are you really, though?
I am, because every week I think, right, what can I dig out for you this week? Where am I going to go? Oh, we've got some amazing women coming up, by the way, in weeks ahead. Things that hopefully you might not know too well.
Of course, because I didn't notice that, but we haven't had any women yet, have we?
No, I'm lining up a load of women.
Okay, that's fine.
That all starts next week. But this is the last round of the boys for a while. And we're going back to 1973. It was a funny year. You had some horrendous pop music being made. And it really was some dreadful stuff out there. I won't even go through it. But Stevie Wonder was in what has been called a classic period. I like to refer to it as a purple patch. He went from 1972, 73, 74, 76. If you count Songs in the Key of Life as 2 albums, there were 5 albums that he made with a body of work that is unprecedented. I don't think anybody, even the Beatles, would be hard.
I was just going to say, even more than the Beatles, you think, yeah.
To put out this amazing quantity and quality of work. What's more, he not only wrote all these tunes, he sang them, played all the instruments. The one we're going back to, Inner Visions, 1973, he played virtually everything and was groundbreaking with synthesizers. Things that, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, fine, over there, but Stevie was doing it in a very different way. Anyway, what song have we got? Really, we should point people to the full-length version, which is 7 minutes. We're not going to do that now, because it's a protest song. And the protest that Stevie makes in this song is extraordinary. It's as relevant today as it ever was. In the album version, you hear the story of a young man coming to New York and getting arrested, and the whole business of what it was like being a black man in New York in 1973 is spelt out. And the anger in his voice when he comes back at the end of a little drama piece is incredible. We don't quite get all of that here. So please, can this be a teaser taster for people to go away and find the full-length version? Is that all right?
It is, but I think find the full-length version, but get the album.
Get all
because
those albums.
Because it's glorious. All of those albums are absolutely wonderful, aren't they?
They have to be on people's... they've got to play them and listen to them, because there's so much work in there. Anyway, shall I introduce it?
Go on,
or you're
Marc.
going to do it?
You introduce it.
Okay. Living for the City.
A boy's born in hot time, Mississippi.
Famous on every corner of this island as Olivia Black. She's Mrs. Olivia Landals, and she's my guest on the couch this afternoon. Olivia, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Enjoying Guild Week.
Well, we, of course, are enjoying your music. We're also enjoying baby worshipping everywhere you go with little Lionel, because it's his first guild, and everywhere you go, everything comes to a standstill, and we all look at Lionel. But you can't start too young in the guild, can you?
Absolutely not, and he's loving it this week. He's come to quite a few classes with me, and he sat there and enjoyed and smiled all the way through them. So.
Well, I have to admire you, Olivia, because you, obviously being a new mum, 4 months, you're pretty experienced, but even so, fairly demanding. And yet, you're here 101% for your students. You have had a little bit of help in recent months in preparing them. And for Sing Up School, you're having a very successful guild, aren't you?
That's right, yeah, I'm really grateful to the teachers that have been helping me out, Lisa Kreisky, Jen Callister and Dave Holland. They've been a real great help. And yep, Sing Up are doing just as well as ever this year. So.
And yourself, you had a success in St Thomas's last night, didn't you?
That's right, I sang in the British Composers. I sang Love's Philosophy, and yeah, I was very surprised to take home a trophy.
Well, we weren't surprised, because you're singing very well indeed. But you said, I was kind of saying, well, how on earth do you manage to get the time? And you said, well, if you haven't done the practicing before the event, that's the time to put the work in, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. I was saying that I think having a baby in some ways has helped, because it's meant that I've got something else to focus on and not worry too much about what I'm singing. So I just went in there and sang.
Well, you do have, your students do have great success and solo voice classes and all of this. But I sometimes listen to them and I think, I wonder what Olivia's technique is. But sometimes with the solo singing, you'll teach them in groups to get them going with the song, won't you? Do you think that's an important technique?
Yeah, definitely. I set Sing Up a few years ago because I didn't have any space to take on private pupils anymore. But it's actually become quite an affordable thing for people that maybe can't afford private lessons, and the children enjoy it because it's fun and they learn from each other. And it seems to work well. Yeah.
Well, that's the bottom line. Now, joining us on the couch is somebody else who is so much a part of Ireland music. Lovely to have you, Gareth Moore. And how are you doing, Gareth?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Now, Gareth, you're not only a competitor and a very successful one, done well in the piano duets with John Riley and in the senior organ class in St Thomas's on Sunday night. All of that we enjoyed very much indeed. But you are also an official accompanist. And yesterday, how many times did you play the same tune?
Well, there were 47 competitors in the first class and 8 in the second class. I sat down at the piano at 9:15 and got off the piano at 1:15.
Now, Gareth, you know when you go to be an official accompanist for the Guild, you know what's involved. But that's so important. It's just the one tune, but it's giving every child the best chance to perform to their top level, isn't it?
It really is, and it's adapting your accompaniment to suit every single one of them, making sure that you're supporting them so that they can do their very best on the stage, give the best performance they can.
Because so much more challenging even than playing for an adult, because an adult, there's a consistency. You will have practiced with an adult and you pretty much know how they're going to do. But every child is going to approach that song differently, aren't they?
They are, and for children, it's often the first time that they've stepped onto the stage, so there's an air of unpredictability there. You don't quite know what's going to happen, so you have to be ready to join in if they get a bit stuck, or just support them, really.
Yeah. So the other side of the coin, being a competitor, do you still get a bit nervous just at the point when you start to play?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely terrified sometimes. Although this year in the organ class, I was competitor number 3, so I'd had a chance just to settle into the atmosphere of the room, and yes, I settled down quite quickly this year.
Those are all our late lunch leftovers for this week. Do tune in for the main helping on Manx Radio, weekdays just after 2 p.m.
Every week, of course, we'll have our regular features with Duxford Diaries. We'll have Marc Tiley's Greatest Hit, midweek Mindfulness, and plenty more with our monthly guests as well.
But for now, thank you so much for listening to the Late Lunch Leftovers podcast. We'll see you again next time.
Abbey Dental, sponsors of Late Lunch for all aspects of today's dental care. Highly recommended throughout the Isle of Man.